It's 5:57 on October 3, 2009. You are standing inside a combat outpost, sitting at the very bottom of a steep mountain valley in Nuristan, Afghanistan, which, tactically speaking, is roughly equivalent to setting up a lemonade stand at the bottom of a volcano. 3 ridgelines tower over you from 3 sides. The slopes run to 9,000 feet, and approximately 300 Taliban and insurgent fighters have been quietly moving into firing positions since before the sun came up. You have 53 soldiers, 1 helicopter on standby 40 minutes out. No reinforcements within reasonable reach. In the next 4 hours, you will collectively fire over 50,000 rounds, call in airstrikes within 150 meters of your own wire, watch sections of your perimeter get overrun and retaken at gunpoint, and somehow still be alive when it's over. The worst part? The officers who built this outpost had already flagged it for closure. They knew it was indefensible. They just hadn't gotten around to it yet. This is the United States military. There is paperwork. Hollywood's version of what happens next looks like a heroic last stand. Ammo running low, stirring music, maybe one guy holding the line just long enough for a helicopter to arrive, face appropriately dirty. The reality is almost nothing like that. Elite units don't survive being outnumbered because they're brave. They survive because they change the math. They turn a 6-to-1 disadvantage into a standoff through a set of decisions made hours and days before the first shot is ever fired. Courage is assumed going in. What actually keeps people alive is a system. Starts somewhere most people overlook. Not with firepower, not with training, with geometry. So how does a force of 53 men hold a position against 300? How does a team of 12 stop an attack that by the numbers alone should crush them? And what does the training look like that makes any of that survivable? The answer, when you trace it back, is stranger than you'd expect. And it starts with a concept so old, the Romans used it. The first thing a small unit does when it sets up to defend is build fighting positions. And where you put those positions isn't a style choice. It is the difference between alive and not. The idea is called interlocking fields of fire, which is a fancy way of saying every gun covers the blind spots of the gun next to it. Here's the part most people get wrong. The goal isn't to build a wall that nothing gets through. It's to build a net. No gap goes unwatched. No path towards you is covered by just one gun. If one position gets taken out, the guns next to it already cover for it. The whole thing is built to keep working even when you lose pieces of it. Military engineers came up with this concept centuries ago, which tracks because it remains slightly too clever for most movie directors to bother explaining. What separates a position that holds from one that falls in the first 5 minutes is this: the dead ground. Dead ground is any spot no gun in your position can reach. A dip in the earth, a blind corner, a ditch leading towards your fence. A special ops team moving into a new position will spend hours walking every inch of that dead ground. They measure distances to rocks, hills, and ditches. They move their heavy guns to cover every blind spot. As one ranger instructor put it, the fight is won or lost before the first trigger is pulled. Everything after the shooting starts is just running decisions you already made. But a perfect net is worthless if you can't put out enough fire to hold it. And this is where the math starts doing something unexpected. 300 fighters is a big number. It is not, however, 300 people shooting straight at the same time. The job in the first minutes of a fight isn't to kill every attacker. It's to put enough bullets in the right places that the other side can't move, pinning them down. A fighter stuck hiding behind a rock isn't doing much damage. It doesn't matter how many of his friends are stuck behind rocks too. The part that surprises most people is how much firepower one 2-man weapon team can put out. The M240 machine gun fires at 650 to 950 rounds per minute. One team in about 60 seconds puts more bullets downrange than an entire squad of riflemen. The M240 does not get tired. It does not experience performance anxiety. It is, in this respect, substantially more reliable than most of its operators. But pinning people down has a limit. It buys time. It doesn't end fights. When you need to actually turn the tide, a small unit needs something else. Something so powerful that a 6-to-1 disadvantage stops being a death sentence and starts being just a number. Most people have never heard the job title of the person who provides it. That person is called a Joint Terminal Attack Controller, or JTAC. Their whole job is to call in airstrikes for soldiers on the ground. When a small unit is outnumbered and surrounded, the JTAC gets on the radio. Within minutes, a fighter jet is dropping a 500-pound guided bomb on a spot that JTAC just read off a GPS. That bomb doesn't know or care that the odds on the ground are 6-1. It evens things out, literally. And before you think that just sounds like pressing a button, the training to become a JTAC takes about 3 years. More than half the people who try don't make it. You have to guide more than one aircraft onto more than one target at the same time, while people are actively shooting at you. The button, it turns out, takes a while to learn how to press. So you have the net, overlapping gun coverage that keeps working even when you lose pieces of it. You have the firepower to pin hundreds of fighters in place. You have a JTAC who can call in a 500-pound bomb within minutes. On paper, that's a system that holds. There is, however, one condition everything depends on. It is not the aircraft. It is not the bombs. It is something simpler and far more fragile when the shooting starts. Here's what nobody tells you about the radio when a firefight breaks out. The first instinct is to talk. When your base is being hit from all sides, people want to say what they see, ask what's going on, describe everything out loud. In a safe office, that instinct is fine. On the radio in a firefight, it gets people killed. If everyone is talking at once, no one can hear anything. The JTAC can't reach the pilot can't drop the bomb, and that 500-pound bomb stays on the plane. Special ops units train radio discipline until it's automatic. Short codes, preset call signs, say a lot in very few words. A call-out like, "Contact, north, machine gun, 300 meters," takes under 2 seconds and tells everyone everything they need to know. The radio discipline is, in many real cases, the single thing that held a position together. Panic on the radio is almost always the first sign a position is about to fall. On October 3, 2009, every single one of these systems, the gun coverage, the firepower, the airstrikes, the radio, was tested at the same time. And for a while, it looked like they were all going to fail at once. By 0600, 3 minutes after the attack began, the enemy was already inside the base. Those 53 soldiers from the start of the video. The helicopter 40 minutes out. The attackers had broken through the fence, seized the ammo storage, and set parts of the base on fire. 8 Americans were killed. 27 were wounded. At multiple points that morning, total collapse wasn't a question of if, it was a question of which minute. Staff Sergeant Clinton Ramesha was one of the soldiers who held it. Already wounded, he gathered a small group, set up a new fighting position on the east side of the base, organized covering fire in every direction, and called in airstrikes close enough that soldiers felt the heat from the blasts on their skin. He brought back his fallen teammates' bodies while people were still shooting at him. He ran the entire system, the gun coverage, the firepower, the radio, while the system was falling apart around him. He later received the Medal of Honor, which is the Army's highest award for valor, and another way of saying the Army ran out of smaller awards to give him first. The base was closed 4 days after the battle. The paperwork apparently had been processed. More than half of everyone who tries to become a JTAC doesn't make it. Ranger School washes out roughly half of every class. The training that builds a soldier who can hold in a 6-1 fight takes 3 to 4 years minimum. What it builds is someone who, when everything is in chaos, falls back on training. 53 men held against 300 because the system ran when the men couldn't. Because when the fence is breached and the radio is screaming and half your people are down, the system is the only thing left that doesn't panic. And if you are interested in what it's like to be these men, check out the next video on screen now.